Hello, today's video is going to focus on the theme of appearances in An Inspector Calls. Because in the world of that play, the brutal ruling class, Mr. Burling and his ilk, they have a blinkered obsession with the way they look, with the way the rest of the world perceives them. They're also very quick to judge on externals, to judge other people in the way they appear. So we're going to take little details, quotes, references from the text, and tease them, shape them, sculpt them up into exam responses of such forceful beauty, of such stunning wow factor. The examiner's eyes are going to be swivelling in his sockets, you can be sure. And there are lots of ways that a smart student can marry up the play to this theme of appearances. I mean, just clock those 5 shiny examples onto the screen now. Now, I dare say that you'll find quotations, though of course sometimes just the textual reference alone is fine, but I dare say you'll find quotations to shore up or back up some of the assertions made here. However, in order to do true justice to this task and drive yourself to the highest marks, you'd want to be interpreting those quotations and those textual references, looking at evidence and exploring, that key word from the questionnaire, exploring what the evidence suggests or symbolises, or why it's, another key word, why it's important. Also, you're going to be pulling in those relevant contextual details as well to really deepen that analysis. So let's take 3 details from this play now and link them to the theme of appearances. First up is something Gerald says in Act 2. Now, don't be deceived by the splinter of pity and affection that Gerald dredges up for Eva, all that old hooey in Act 2, where his whole attitude is, I'm sad she's dead, boo hoo hoo, what a sensitive flower am I. Trust me, this guy's only got one way of judging women, and it ain't by gauging the depths of their soul. No sir, appearances are everything to this smug rich Johnny. If you're not easy on his eye, he doesn't care how hard your life is. Now obviously, I'll make a plan before I write a paragraph, but to save time, I'm just going to tease out the end product, the solid paragraph, bit by bit, so you get an idea of how to shape your ideas into an examiner-pleasing package. I've laid on the point and evidence here, and fascinating fact here folks, I'll have you all rushing to update your diaries, but I usually get the point by working backwards from the quote or the reference I fancy using. So, I know what quote I want to use, I then think, well, what actors is appearing, and is it dialogue, or is it action, or is it a stage direction? Yeah, now I don't often do this, but I've put in 2 bits of evidence here, the pretty quotation and the hard-eyed, dull-faced quotation. I guess it's just, I'm putting in that pretty one just as a kind of backup quote to just entrench or support the idea that I'm making there. Kind of like I'm saying, well, he doesn't just say this, he also says this. You don't have to do it. I thought it'd be prudent here. That block in blue there, that's me troweling on the explanation, analysing the evidence. There's a lot of high-level terms in this response thus far. Proletaria, determines, misogynistic, which means to dislike or be prejudiced against women. Now you'll notice I'm using these terms accurately and appropriately. I'm not just wanging them in to show what a clever dickie I am who can put a pin in a dictionary. That word important, which is a key word from the question, a lot of students find that word very difficult, very awkward to squeeze in their exam responses. Well, I just use it in the first line of my explanation. I kind of get that in early doors, and that robs the word of its awkwardness. The stuff in gold there is my secondary or deeper interpretation, which you can't always do, but if you can, please do. My point here is that Gerald's attitude towards these women is a bit ironic. It kind of defies expectation, because when you think about it, it's our lad who's making these women ugly in the first place. I mean, he's the one that works them like dogs for a pittance of pay in that factory. That'll take the bounce out of you. That'll leach your vitality quicker than you can blink. Finally, the stuff in black here is where I've stitched in relevant context. When Gerald's belittling or subjugating or oppressing women here, I'm relating that to the states of women in the Edwardian era. The stuff in red, that last line, it's not obligatory, but what I've done is kind of rounded off my argument well by linking or looping back to the question on appearances. The second detail we can throw at this question on appearances is when our jealous little Madam Sheila realises that Eva looks better in a certain dress than she does. Don't forget, Eva is a big hitter in the looks department. Well, Sheila, she sees red, doesn't she? Or maybe I should say she sees green, because it's that green-eyed monster jealousy that compels Sheila to get Eva booted out of her job. Well, what can we do with this? How can we dress this detail up in silken robes of analysis and contextual linkage? Hey, lock eyes on this price specimen and size it up. Now I'm not going to explain how I put this one together. You've got the colour coding, plus by now you've probably got a good idea of how I craft these things, a solid idea of why I've done what I've done.
In terms of deeper analysis, the stuff had in gold in the previous paragraph, I guess I could have put in here that all of Burling's sins, like Mr. Burling's greed and Eva's jealousy here, that's Priestley implying that capitalism is deeply immoral, almost like it's an evil force that destroys lives. Final detail now, linking to the theme of appearances. We're just going to roar through this one very quickly. Remember, Inspector Gould's parting volley, it appears to threaten the Burling family. He's kind of telling them that there's going to be some pretty grisly consequences if they continue tweaking the nose of the poor. You see, when Gould rolls out that line about learning in fire and blood and anguish, we can link this to the prospect of social revolution, the idea of the poor rising up to stomp all over their bourgeois oppressors. Look at the picture on the right there. That's a nod to the French Revolution, 1789, when the Burlings of this world, the kind of pampered rulers, they took a nasty nick to the neck, courtesy of the guillotine. You know, they had their heads lopped off. That's blood and anguish by the bucket load. And what you've got here is a blueprint for my final paragraph, complete with deeper analysis and relevant contextual detail. Now, if you're so inclined, have a punt at shaping this stuff into an exam paragraph. But FYI, I'm allergic to marking. Mark is a 4-letter word to me, so please don't ping it my way. It's jiggering enough marking my own student stuff.
Right folks, let's call time on this look at the toxically shallow value system of Gerald, Mr. Burling, of the ruling class that Priestley's so keen to demonise in this play. As wiser men than myself once said, and admittedly that doesn't exactly narrow down the field, but as wiser men than myself once said, you better watch out for the skin deep. For it is the skin deep, those judging on appearances, that send Eva hurtling along that downward spiral towards that bottle of bleach. And on that bright note, it's time for me to say goodbye and best of luck in that exam hall.